This is budget. I'm sharing a guideline from the counties. It is from the county toolkit. So basically, the guide will show us when we are supposed to engage the county governments. Okay, I got it now. I'm just sharing it now. Apologies, when I'm using now the phone and the computer, things get complicated, but I've just shared them. I've shared some two PDF documents. One is a ADP toolkit, which shows how we should be engaging in the ADP when the counties are have presented these documents for our input. We should know exactly what to look for. And then I've also shared another document we did before, which is the CIDP analysis for Kisumu County. This is just a guide. So that we should understand that for us to effectively advocate for something, we must first know what exactly is in our plans. Because one thing we have discovered is that in most cases, you find counties have good plans, but they just put them aside and implement things which are not in those plans. So we can always ask them to go back to the plans, which in most cases you find you even gave your input. Your input was captured in those plans, but they ended up not being implemented at all. So during those forums, we can call for government to get back into those plans and implement them. Because in Kenya, generally, people say that we always have good plans. We have good laws, including the constitution. They say, like, for example, the constitution is the second most progressive constitution in Africa, which means it is a good one, but the way we implement it is the problem. The same can be said about these documents. So basically, if we can start by looking at that analysis for budget, you can open it on your computer, or Fatuma can open and share on here on Zoom. So basically, you need first to do some kind of analysis. You read that document, you make your own notes. You will discover that there are bigger projects which counties are supposed to do, but they never do them, or if they do them halfway or in a short way and leave them on somewhere. So for example, I can give an example of Kisumu. Counties are the same. We can always learn from each other. If you look at the CIDP analysis, there is a section of we had pressed there for projects. I want just to see the page. It is on page 11. You can be able to see that Kisumu County has huge brands. Actually, this is the current CIDP from 2018 to 2022. They were planning to, for example, construct a cancer treatment center at Jomo. It is called Jaramogi Oginga Odinga Teaching and Referral Hospital. And if you look at the amount of money they are planning to use in the next 5 years, is a lot of money. It's 1 billion Kenyan shillings. So what we did, we pressed the name of the project, the amount which it will cost, and then there is a third column on page 11, which is current status. So you can do the same for your county, just to show what is the county planning to do. Are we, for example, in Kisumu, they were supposed to increase the average age, to construct the mosques in Moroni, Kombewa, and Nyakach. So what we did, we held a meeting with the members of county assembly, specifically the health committee, the education committee, and discussed these projects. So we could ask them, where are we in terms of progress in implementing these projects? So if they say, for example, cancer treatment center, we had to discuss that. They said they were, during that time, they were at the groundbreaking ceremony. for cancer center, which had already been done. Refurbishing of that hospital, referral hospital in Kisumu. You can see they said work on refurbishment is ongoing. So some of the information we have in this booklet, we had discussed it with the county officials. We invited the CEC for health, the CEC for education, the CEC for other sectors, and discussed this. So this one, I just shared it. It is up by the way, and you can be able to see that after each analysis, we present recommendations for the sector. You can see what we have presented for the health sector, and that one you can read later as a guide. So if you are very interested, or maybe your organization has funds, you can do some analysis, and then we, if possible, we can make some even simplified forms of it in form of infographics in the local languages we share with the people, so that they can effectively engage. They can effectively engage the policymakers. So basically that is it. And now, Fatuma, you can now share the main document, which is the ADB tool. The ADB tool, which is our major guide for this meeting for this month. This tool actually is available online. It shows exactly what is going on or what should happen and at what time. So for those of you who have opened it, you can be able to see that this document, number one, there is what they call the ADB guidance templates, which are shared by the county executive, by the county finance and economic planning. And this is done in July. So you know we are now past July. It means they have already done it at the county executive level. That is the county finance and economic planning. They have shared those templates so that the people can fill in what they want to appear in the annual development plan. You can see number 2, review the forthcoming year's priorities as laid out by the CIDP. So even at the county, they also do look at the CIDP. They remind themselves what is the priority for the coming financial year. And mind you, coming year is going to be an electioneering period. So the process might be disrupted. Things might be done a little bit earlier. I think we can mute so that we don't get the background noise. So as I was saying, the county officials also do review the CIDP or the 5-year plan to see what they need to prioritize in the coming financial year. Then they appraise, they cost and prioritize within each program or projects to be incorporated in the ADP. So generally, before they, once they have listed the projects which need to be done, they have to do costing. You know, costing is now a process which helps us now to say, for example, if we are building a school, let's say in Nakuru, let's say in Baringo County, boy. Let us mute our microphones unless we are speaking. Okay, so if, for example, I was giving an example that we are building, or you are asking the county government of Baringo to build an ECD center at the Roboi area. So one thing which we must learn to do is how to do costing. How much will this ECD center cost the county government? Because, for example, if you ask for 500,000 shillings to build an ECD center and the actual cost is 4 million, it means again you will go back asking for more money the coming financial year. So even as people from the civil society, we will have to learn how costing is done, so that when we ask for money for a project, we get exactly what we want and what is needed to complete that project. Unless it is a multi-year project. You know, when we say multi-year project, it's a large project which needs more money, but because money cannot be allocated from one financial year, it has to be allocated from the coming financial years into the future. Then you see, there is number 6, they consolidate, draft ADP, and circulate to CEC. So before even it comes to us, all the sectors, all the spending units in the county, they give their input. They say for us in the agriculture sector or department, this is what we want to be given priority because this is what we have seen in the CIDP. Then at the end of the day, they put them together, they consolidate them through the county finance and economic planning. And that one is done in August. And remember, we are now in August. So right now, as we are speaking, probably they are consolidating what is coming from various departments to get into the ADP for presentation on 1st of August, 1st of September at the county assembly. Number 7, they also do review and approve the ADP. So imagine even when you see that ADP, annual development plan, it is a draft, but remember it has to be approved by the cabinet, and the cabinet at the county assembly is called the CEC. And that has to be done also in this August, maybe towards the end of August. They also conduct they conduct county budget and economic forum briefing on ADP. So there is this group called County Budget and Economic Forum. This is also a requirement for all counties to have the same. It is chaired by the governor. It has representatives of the civil society, representatives of the professional bodies, representatives of even some places, even the church. So you can see if you search on Public Finance Management Act, you search for the County Budget and Economic Forum, you will be able to see it. So now I'm urging you members to find out who is representing you or your county, who is representing the civil society, who is representing our communities in the County Budget and Economic Forum. You know, this is a forum whose main role as it is indicated in law, is to preside over public forums. But you find in many places they don't have funds. That is one of the weaknesses. They don't have allocated funds for them to go around to do these public forums. But you can read more, and in these discussions, as we move on towards the end, you will tell us probably to do an analysis. We can pick a small team to do an analysis on these county budget economic forums. But instead of repeating what others have done, we can also read analysis which have been done by other organizations. For example, the International Budget Partnership. At the beginning of the devolution, they did a lot of analysis on how these county budget and economic forums can be assisted to do their work properly. And by the way, I'm urging you to also make sure that you are represented or you have a representative in this forum. Going down, we look at the fact that they need to publish and invite public participation. So even the county executive, this month of August, they are supposed to call for public participation on the annual development plan. So we should look at your county website. That is the one for executive, because I have come to realize that there are 2 websites for each county in most cases. There is a website for the executive and there is a website for the county assembly. In most cases, they are separate. But in some places like Nairobi, the county executive website disappeared. Maybe it was pulled out and it is no longer existing. So whenever you need some documents, you have to go to the county assembly website. Still in August, they have to conduct public participation, provide inputs and comments on ADP through public participation. That is supposed to be done still in August. That is number 11. And the citizens are supposed to be invited. Actually, in most of these public forums, I'm told you don't have to be invited. If you are not invited, you should invite yourself. You should just walk in and give your ideas on these documents, because there are some cheeky policymakers, maybe MCAs, maybe ministers, we call CEC, who don't call for these forums. They only invite their friends so that they can rubber stamp some projects. Then on number 12 is very important. That is what we are looking at now. And that is one of the reasons why we decided to meet today, which is 17th of August, so that we can prepare or understand what we should be looking for when we get into discussing issues of annual development plans. So we are hoping that by 1st of September, all the county executives will have submitted. Actually, this is a legal deadline, which is in law in the Public Finance Management Act, that they should have submitted a draft annual development plan to the county assembly, because the law says that any plan which is implemented by any county must be approved by the county assembly. So the major role of county assembly is to approve, for example, budgets, plans, even when we have new laws at the county level, they have to be approved by the assembly. So that is why it is very important for us to elect or nominate people who know what they are doing to represent us at the assembly. So the assembly, once they receive that document on the 1st of September, they have 7 days to publish and publicize. You know, when we say publish and publicize, it's like, for example, they have that plan, they publish it on the website, for example, of the county assembly, and then they even go to the local radio station and they advertise that now, you know, we have the process which has begun of looking into the annual development plan. So please, on such and such a date, make sure you avail yourself for public participation. So they have 7 days after receiving that document from the executive to publish and publicize. So we expect in 1 week's time, after 1st of September, we should be called for public participation on ADP. So, but if you have a question or comment, I said you can interrupt me so that we proceed together. Tukimaliza hii section, tukue tumemaliza tuende hiyo discussion ya planning. So as I was saying, the International Budget Partnership ilifanya some analysis, ikatuonyesha 7 ways in which we should analyze the county annual development plans. So I'm going to take you through those 5 steps, just a general discussion, so that when you go to your county, you find that document, you can do this analysis. And I normally encourage people to do analysis here 1 page or 2 pages maximum. You look at the key things. So, you know, the reason why you should know what to look for is because most of these county documents, all the national government documents are bulky. They are huge documents. So if we don't know exactly what we are looking for, we might end up wasting time and not even contributing anything to the public debate. So number 1, when you get this document, you should see what are the priorities for the sector you are interested in. So the document should tell you that in the coming financial year, for example, in 2022-2023, these are the priorities. So 1, look at the priorities. So in the first item, what are the priorities? What is Baringo County trying to do in 2022-2023? Even the current annual development plan should tell us. But you know, the annual development plan, once it is done, next it informs the budget. Because the law says, again, that we should not put anything in the budget estimates, which is not in the plans. So if you find a project, for example, to build a referral hospital in the budget, and it is not in the annual development plan, it is not in the CIDP, that is illegal. So it is something you can raise with the county. Tell them, no, look here, gentlemen, ladies and gentlemen, this is illegal. How comes you want to build a referral hospital and it is not in the planning document? So when I will send you this document, you will be able to see which sections of the Public Finance Management Act, which demands start to be done. So that is 1. Kindly mute, Ndiema. Kindly mute. Okay, thank you, Ndiema. So the first thing, what are the priorities for health? What are the priorities for education sector? If it is, for example, EWC, and they are interested in water and sanitation, you should try to see from this document, what are the priorities for water and sanitation in Baringo County, for example? or in your county. You know, I'm using Balingo as an example generally in this debate. So you can replace Balingo with the name of your county. Number two, what you should look for, so you can take some short notes, is number two is, does the ADP identify programs within the sector? So you should ask yourself, are there programs identified? Because we realized from our training in Naivasha that there are programs under each sector or under each department. I can give an example for healthcare. If we have the health sector, or in the counties we say the health department, are there programs under the health sector or health department? Yes. In most cases, you find, for example, under health sector, we have curative program. Curative means cure. This is from the word cure. So this program is for curing. For they are the ones who find medicine, drugs to make sure that the people are cured, for example, from diseases like tuberculosis, from cancer. That is curative program. Then there is preventive program. The preventive program, their work is to prevent diseases from occurring or from getting people. That is under preventive, where we get like vaccination as a program. So find out from the annual development plan for the sector that you are interested in. It can be education, it can be healthcare for our case, but also it can be infrastructure. In fact, you are not tied to look only at those two. Those two are our focus in the project, but you can feel free to look at water and sanitation. You can feel free to look at infrastructure like roads. You can look at agriculture if it is your maybe one of your thematic areas in your organization. Ask yourself, are there programs under each of those sectors? Under programs, there are sub-programs. Like I said, preventive is a program in most counties. As a sub-program is vaccination. This is under this sub-program is where now they have like vaccinations like polio campaigns, and others. So basically, ask if those things are not there, it will not be easy for us to compare what is in the annual development plan with what is in the budget when the budget estimates are tabled in April next year. You can't tell. So let us always, also one of the key things why we are participating in this public budgets is to push county governments to be more transparent and to be more accountable. They can't be accountable if we can't relate what is in one document to what is in the other one. And in most cases, we have always been calling for county governments to present these documents in a format which we can easily work on. For example, they should present most documents in Excel spreadsheets. It is easier to do your calculations from Excel. But you find most counties, you can later tell me, they either present it in PDF or they bring hard copies on the same day when they have public forums. Why? This is a strategy. If they have brought you a budget which has 900 pages or maybe 600 pages, even if you are a genius, you wouldn't be able to analyze anything on the D-Day. When I say D-Day, it's the same day when the public forums are happening. So you end up being confused. You even forget what you wanted to say at the public forum. But if we get those documents in advance and in a format which is easier to use, we will be able to do comparison. We can easily tell them that the projects you have in this budget, they are not there in the annual development plan. They are not there in the CIDP. That is our major objective, to understand these documents so that when we are dealing with the counties, we already know what we are looking for. So the third item is you should know, or what you should know about your county annual development plan is, does it provide information on significant capital projects? Yes. Are there projects like what you saw in the CIDP I showed you about Kisumu? You should, every year we should know which projects the county is doing. And in our analysis for Kisumu, we hired some GPS experts. GPS is Global Positioning System, something like that, those guys who pick the coordinates and put them on the map. We hired someone to do that work for us. So one of the things you will see in that document is that we were identifying stalled projects. Those projects which began in 2013, from 2013 to now is how many years down the line? It's 8 years down the line. You find 8 years down the line, they started an ECD center in your place, and it has never been completed. So we mapped them out. We picked the coordinates, we put them on maps. So we could present that to the policymakers, the MCAs, to the CEC, to the directors of departments. We told them, look here, gentlemen, this project was, and you know, the goodness with GPS, it can show, actually Paul is here with us. Paul Jepusoi did something on this kind of things. He did a training somewhere. He was trained. So you can tell with Google Earth, you can easily tell what a project looked like 3 years ago. You know, Google takes pictures of various places around the earth. So you can easily see that the project had been started, and now 8 years down the line, it has not been completed. Why? We ask questions. Then now, when you have data from budget, you can easily say now, you know, this ECD center has been allocated money every year, maybe 5 million every year, or 5 years or 6 years. So that is like how much? 30 million has gone into building an ECD center, and it has never been completed. So that was our major question. Why? And you know what happened? The good thing is that the advocacy can have fruits. They came and looked for money from wherever they looked it from, and tried to complete that project, which they did. They completed it. Although I can say also that later it was demolished because it is in, you know, the Nubians are also ethnic minorities. It was built in a land which belongs to the Nubians. And then the Kenya Railways Corporation came and demolished everything, including mosques, churches, schools, and everything. So it's unfortunate it was demolished, but the good thing is that the advocacy worked. They completed that ECD center and other projects, including some roads. And they opened an hospital which are installed. You will be able to see all those in that booklet. So are there programs? That was point number 3. Number 3. Sorry, point number 3 is whether the ADB provides significant capital projects. We should be able to know. For example, in some counties, they say they will build a fruit processing factory. They will build a stadium. If you go to Mombasa, they have built a stadium at Changamwe. There is a huge stadium which costs 2 billion shillings. So we should be able to tell which project are they building in the coming financial year. Why is it important? So that we can be able to know if the people from Endoroi community, they are occupying 17 locations. Out of those 17 locations, how many have even received one project in the coming financial year? Or are all projects going to the more urbanized areas in the county? So we can tell whether there is discrimination, whether there is disparity in access to services. Number 4, you should look at whether the ADP indicate where these projects were derived from. So yes, you have projects in the ADP. Where did they come from? There are 2 major sources of projects in ADP. They should be either public participation. You know, like when they are doing their public participation, they should be able to take some of the projects from the people. They say, you see, Anne Nyerere said, this is what is giving a problem to the, for example, the Ogiek people of Mau East. This is what they want. And then they agree that this is what the Ogiek people want. They can include that one in the ADP. Also, another thing is that it can come from the CIDP, the 5-year plan. However, as advocates, we must be careful. Sometimes, when you go to public participation forums, they list all the projects which you mentioned. They list them in that document. They have a section that these are the projects which people mentioned or wanted during the public forums. But they don't show us which projects they have adopted, which one they will fund. That one is the question now. If they bring you the document with all your projects listed, then ask them, can you show us which projects will be funded? Because, you know, listing them in a booklet called the ADP is different from funding them. So ask them to show you which projects they have adopted from public participation forums. So that is important. Because, you know, if the projects are only coming from the governor, the members of county assembly, and politicians, even members of parliament, they have been given chances to choose which project should be funded, then there's a problem. There might be a mismatch between what the people want and what the politicians want. Because public participation, you know, is now participatory democracy. We have representative democracy, which is what is happening when you elect a member of parliament, when you elect a member of county assembly. They are representing our interests at the assembly. But in most cases, we have found that they do not represent our interests. So we must do what we call participatory democracy. We have to raise our voices. You don't have to be an elected member of county assembly or a CEC member or a permanent secretary at the county, what do they call them? The chief officer. Even us, the ordinary citizens, we can be active and raise our voices. We use various tools, which we will discuss after this. Number 5, I'm only remaining with 3. So number 5, does the ADP provide performance targets for programs or projects and or indicators of success or impact? Yes, you said there are programs, but did we have indicators of success? So if, for example, they want to build 10 hospitals, maybe let us say 10 health centers across the county, what should be the indicators? What should be the targets for the year? If the 10 hospitals are to be done in 5 years, how many are we targeting to do this year? Because sometimes they can tell us that they will do them next year during the final year of the 5-year plan. Will it be possible? So let us look whether there are targets, whether there are indicators of success in that document. Number 6, the second draft, is whether how the public was involved in formulation of the ADP. So a good ADP, annual development, when I say ADP, I mean annual development plan, must have a section explaining to us how the public was involved in formulation of that document. Ile mambo ya public participation yote ilikuja, ni nini ilichange? How was that done? I've been to public forums where they invite only few people. The MCA invites his supporters. Then when you go there, unarudishwa hapo kwa mrango. Now sometimes, you know, another bad thing they do, they take those forums far away from the people. For example, when I was in Isiolo some years back, they took them to a national park. There is a huge hotel at the national park in Isiolo. They take it inside the national park. So, you know, when you are going there, you might be asked for, do you have a letter of invitation inviting you to the public meeting? But why should a public meeting be taken to a national park when they can bring it to the town hall? If it is in Nakuru, they should bring it to even to town there, mahali kuna space ya kusimama muongea juu ya hiyo document. Ama community halls. In most towns, we have community halls. Or the nearby church or mosque, so that we discuss this document. That is where people are able to even walk and have that conversation. The last one is number 7, is what additional information do you need to inform the next stages in budget cycle that are not provided in ADP? So yes, we have ADP, we have looked at it, but we should also, the ADP should tell us what is the other information needed. So we should be aware that another document which is coming in October is the month after September, is the county budget review and outlook paper. You know, most of these documents have big names, but they are simple. The county budget review and outlook paper, it is called CPROP. I will share this document. It's a document which shows you how the county performed the previous year. So like now we are in 2021, 2022. we will be told by the CPROP or the county budget review and outlook paper how, for example, Baringo County performed in 2020, 2021. That is review. Review is to look at what happened. Outlook is to look into the future, the coming financial year. They start predicting. They predict the ceilings. How much will we spend in health sector? How much will we spend in education sector? That is outlook. You know, then they call it the county budget review and outlook paper, looking into the past and again looking into the present and then the future. The future is now the outlook part of it. Then we would expect that by February next year, we will be looking at the county fiscal strategy paper. The county fiscal strategy paper, CF, it is called CFSP. CFSP is a document which sets the ceilings per sector, how much should go to each sector. And you remember I mentioned this during our training in Naivasha. I said the county fiscal strategy paper has 3 P's, P police. There is one for priorities, there is one for projections. There is 3 P's, which is performance, priorities, and projections. You know, when you are saying performance, is again, how did the county perform? Priorities is what are we going to prioritize going forward? Are we going to build only hospitals or only ECD centers? Or are we building village polytechnics this time around? Then there is projections. That is what we look into the future. What should we spend more money on? The reason why we always say priorities or projections is because we have limited resources. For those of you who have done economics, you know we always have limited resources, but they are unlimited ones. Today, if you are given 10 million, you will find ways of using the 10 million because they are unlimited ones. Probably you have never bought a Mercedes Benz, you will go and buy one. If you have a lot of money, maybe 2 billion, 1 billion, you might want to purchase even a private jet or a plane or a helicopter. So that is why I'm saying they are always unlimited ones, but they are limited resources. So when you have limited resources, we have always to prioritize. You say, yes, all of these things, I need them in life. But for now, because I have little money, what should I focus on for this year? That is the same thing for counties. And then next year, we expect to participate actively in the debate on annual budget estimates. We all understand that because we were starting the projects, this year, the current financial year 2021-2022, we were not able to actively participate. Probably some of you did, but not everyone. This time around, we have started earlier enough so that everyone can participate in the planning and budget making process. And by the way, don't fear that your voice cannot be heard. This time around, we agreed that everything we communicate with the county, let us do it in written. And when they call you back, I know they call some of you, after you have sent your memo, your proposals to the county, they call you on phone. Once you have completed your conversation, please tell them to put it in writing. That's how we can have effective advocacy. Because if I write a letter to you, then you call me back, you promise that you will do A, B, C, D, which is in my memo or in my proposal. If you fail to do it, how can I hold you into account? Because you will say you never promised me anything, unless you record that call, but which is not convenient for everyone. So always let us ask the policymakers to respond in written, either an email or a letter. They send you a letter to file in your office or in your home. You know, like me, I work from home, so I have my files here. So let us always do everything in communication. Because also one of the reasons why I encourage communication to be done in written, one day the governor will leave the office. The CEC will be sacked, for example, or his term will come to an end. The same with the chief officers. Now we have a new chief officer in office or a new director or a new minister at the office at the county level. They call them CECs. So how will you continue with the conversation with a new minister? You need to refer to the files because those files are left in the office. the office holders don't go away with them. So ndio tunaweza endelea na hiyo conversation hata kama ni watu wageni wako pale. So basically, those are the few things I wanted to say. I will send you this Word document, which has links to the documents I've mentioned in my presentation. Right now is 11:04. I was expecting to have this conversation up to around 11:20 or 11:30 there. So now I will open this forum for you to ask questions and make comments about what I've presented now. Meanwhile, as you raise your hands, Fatuma, since you are the host, you will tell me who has raised up their hands. I might not be able to see. You can give them permission to speak. So feel free, or you can just unmute and speak.
Let's have Elias go ahead. Elias.
Yes, Elias.
Yeah, good morning, everyone.
Morning, Elias.
Yes, I'm really happy that you've set at this call. Mine are just quick ones. The first thing that I wanted to raise is about, like, now we went for public participation and came up with budgets, but most of the time, the people you present these budgets to, whereby you develop with the communities, they don't want to take it. And I think from our conversation is that we went with it at the wrong time, with the correct budget, but at the wrong time. So I don't know what will happen in case of actual timings. And most of them, they don't even acknowledge. Whenever you go to their offices, they are just scared, kind of. He said, no, they keep you some excuses here and there. If such case appears, like you said, they might call you. So if they call you now and they don't keep you records, what will you do? Yes, that is my question.
Thank you, Elias. Another question?
Let's have Paul. Paul, you can speak.
Thank you. This presentation is good. Thanks, Geoffrey. And I think it's a wake-up call for us to analyze what counties are doing, because for so long we are not clearly tried to find out what counties are doing. For example, what projects are they implementing? And I think this forum is good for us to analyze what is going on. I was trying to, because this is not a question, but I would like us to go further to find out from county government budget implementation review reports, because from there we'll find some of the quarterly reports by the county government, what they are doing. Those are the additional reports. And some of these reports can be even found through websites, the county's website. It is easier to, because I had my friends saying it's difficult to find these reports. Most of the counties have websites. You will easily find this report from their website, and you'll easily find those reports. Again, where you'll easily find this report is control of budget. Quarterly, control of budgets always give reports on some of the projects counties are doing. And these are the maybe materials we can use in terms of trying to find out what we can look, the key issues we will raise when we are building this kind of argument towards what Geoffrey is trying to give us. And lastly, it's about the annual development plan. You see, most of the counties were put to task to explain as to why they have not put their, for example, the strategic plan, because I think this is another new, a new issue which our counties are supposed to have. Now, for example, they have to develop their strategic plans for their projects, so that it is easier to know what are the goals for the county government. And I think this is a new thing which we can still incorporate what we are doing. Thank you.
It is around 11, quarter past 11. So maybe some 10 minutes or 5, depending on whether you have some additional comments. Fatuma, you can check whether there are also questions raised. I can see on the chat box. Ndiema, did you speak really? We wanted to speak in Ndiema.
Yes, good morning, everyone.
Morning, Ndiema.
Yes, most of the issues that, as you are doing your presentation, Mr. Kerosi, there are issues that came over, and I wanted to ask for clarification. But as you are going on, I realized that some of the issues, you are answering some of the issues that I was the most important thing is that you have talked about how to do the follow-ups, especially after public participation has been done. On February this year, after our meeting in Naivasha, there was public participation done in Mount Elgon, a place called Kaptama. I was in charge person, and I took my people from Okiek community to represent the community in terms of giving out issues, the issues in terms of the projects to be done in the community. So actually, as we went on, we presented our issues in the public participation forum, and as you had said, they wrote down all what the members of the community presented was written down. Kila kitu ni kwa chini. Yeah, sasa then baadaye sasa nikawa sasa najiuliza, watu walikuja wakachukua maoni yetu. They took our grievances, our views concerning the projects that we want them done in the community. But up to this time, yani hatujajua ni project gani ilienda through, kani ndio haikuenda through. So there is disconnect in feedback, and I think that is where the problem is. So I want to pose my question, Mr. Kerosi. We as a civil society, apart from looking at the documents for maybe to know which projects was approved, which ones were not approved, isn't there any other way of doing it? So that, because engaging in public participation is actually not the problem. We can do that as many times as we can, but the problem is, how do we get to know that the issues that we have presented, that is where the problem is. Yeah, because up to now, sisi kama Okiek Wajapitali hatujajua kabisa ni miradi gani ilipitishwa, ni gani bado. Yeah. So thank you very much.
Okay, thank you, Lelimuko Ndiema, for your comments and concerns. Actually, that is not only a problem for Mount Elgon. It is a problem for most counties. I think members here can agree with me that, because I was looking at the annual development plan for Elgeyo Marakwet County, and I saw the same. I saw them listing all the projects which people had proposed. You know, that is not important because as we said, there are scarce resources, and we do understand they will not implement all those projects. They will only pick key projects, probably from what the people said, And probably now what we should be pushing for is for the counties to be publishing projects which have been approved. Yes, they can decide also to add an annex of all the projects people gave, but they tell us that this section, now we are highlighting the projects which we saw, which are in line with what is in the CIDP, and this is what we are going to implement. So it is upon us as members of civil society to be proactive, to start from even right now. We know who is responsible. We know when the annual development plan comes to the House, it is always given to the Budget and Appropriation Committee, the relevant committees, for example, the Health Committee. So it is upon us now to start identifying who is sitting in those committees. You might find it is your member of county assembly. Start having a conversation with that person, even informally, or even write to him an official letter indicating your concerns in advance as now, because some of them, they don't know. We might blame the members of county assembly, but they don't know they are supposed to streamline those things. Some of them are not educated. So when you bring them difficult things like these annual development plans, and then you tell them it is part of a system of several documents, they lose you. So you should tell them in the language they understand, even in your local dialect, if they are from your community, that when that document comes, when we discuss, please tell those people who publish, they should not publish everything which we give. Or if they do, let it be an annex. Ile tuna attach huko chini. Lakini kwa hiyo main document, waweke zile projects zenye zimekuwa approved. But also, I've realized that the approved documents, they are never shared online. They only put the draft. Then once they have gone to the House, the committee will present a report. They discuss that report in the entire House at the assembly. Then they will enact the document or approve it, but they don't share it again. So we also need to know who is supposed to share. We should probably write to the clerk of the county assembly and ask them to always share those documents which have been approved. If it were for the national government, it could be easier. Those documents can be bought. You can buy them at the government printer. Like now, if you need the approved budget for the year 2021, 2022, I can go to the government printer along Airaserashi Avenue and purchase the document. But counties are a little bit tricky. They are not required to put them at the government printer for us to purchase them. So it is now us to create that regular communication with our policymakers. And as I said, change is difficult to come by, but we cannot give up because this is something which is affecting us. Okay. Another comment before I close this section, we move to the next one.
Kirosi.
Yes.
There's one thing which we must concentrate on, because the main thing is as indigenous minority communities, we are specifically looking into projects that are either impacting our life or does not improve our life, or projects that are from our communities, so that we don't kind of look a lot of information that counties are implementing. So we concentrate only on the projects that we think they are within our communities, so that we critique the impact that those projects are bringing to our communities. Of course, if it's education, if it is an health sector, if it's the roads, so that the main objective is for us to realize that are we somewhere within the county planning? Is minorities within our communities are within what we call the development projects, so that we don't kind of look almost all projects within, for example, in Baringo, we will be concentrating on the locations that we are working on, so that it will be easier for us to have those reports and say, for example, if we are presenting these reports to the United Nations, it will be a clear kind of a marginalization mechanism that we are saying it is because of this reason that the minorities or marginalized communities from this region are behind because of 1 to 3. It is a clear finding, so that anybody who will be reading or maybe looking at our report will be clearly pinpointing some of these issues that we are raising within where we come from. I think for me that will be more easier when we are analyzing this budget issue and development project within this within our community, so that we will not be looking at this report you are giving us as something we will be looking at the whole project from Elgeyo Marakwet, for example, or the whole project from Nakuru, where the Ogiek are found. We will be just concentrating on the wards, for example, and locations where we are concentrated on.
Yes, I agree with you, Chepsoi. We need to focus more on the communities, what is going on in the communities where we are working. And more importantly, we need to document. If we can be able to write even short reports, even if it is 1 page, 2 pages, highlighting the key issues which you have noted, so that we can put this together and even encourage each other to publish them. Even if you have, for example, a website, we can even share them even with the, there are people out there who have popular blogs, but they don't have content. We can publish them there because they will reach out to more people, and probably the policymakers will see them and respond. So thank you, Bwana Chepsoi, for pointing out that we should focus on the communities where we are working. You must know the locations, for example. I'm told the Endorois, you are in 17 locations. So focus on those locations, but also for comparison purposes, you must know what is happening elsewhere. For example, if we are talking about construction of or establishment of ECD centers, we must know what is happening with the others sub-counties. Are they doing these ECD centers faster and employing more people there than us? When we have fewer and fewer people being employed, for example, as ECD teachers and other subordinate staff. So those are the things. We can only use the other data for comparison, but more let us focus on our communities. Thank you, Chepsoi. So up to this point, I want to close this chapter for discussing the annual development plan. So now it is upon you to look for these documents once they are tabled at the county assembly from 1st of September, which is 1 or 2 weeks away. Please look at those documents, analyze them, and share with us even a 2-page summary of what you found out here on this. Actually, we have this EM groups reps. And more importantly, I want to encourage you when we have this kind of meetings, especially when we are going to discuss analysis, which you have done, encourage, identify people from your communities who are articulate, who can read and write, to join us in this kind of forums to discuss these documents. You never know who is going to meet the policymaker. So next time, I think one of the things we will discuss is whether we should invite them to join us in these meetings, especially when we are analyzing documents. Now, I will end it here. If we were in a physical meeting, I could have asked us to go for tea, and then we come back. So
yes, so I would like to appreciate this forum. This is a very good initiative, and OPDP is in full support of this. We will offer any kind of support that we can and that you may ask of us going forward. We also urge everyone to take advantage of the hunter-gatherer forum that is able to bring together more communities into this conversation. On our end, I think we're going to be working on mobilizing other minority groups, because this is the kind of conversation that needs to incorporate everyone that we can get, as many indigenous peoples as we can get, because it's going to benefit not only the few that I can see on the chat, but also other communities that are not aware of this great initiative. So I'm going to try to mobilize them and bring them on board, and also to encourage them to appear in the subsequent webinars that we're going to be having. Apart from that, we acknowledge everyone who has been able to attend. The Endorois group, we had also the Sengwer. I also saw some people from Okiek. We are missing so many others, and I believe that if they were in this conversation, probably next time, then we'll have even more ideas to brainstorm over. Then thank you very much.